Olivia saying that your former boss and your chum must be pretty hacked off about all of this because the witnesses are, as it were, almost damaged goods, and he claims very strongly that there is nothing in this document that shows, crucially, that he on purpose misled Parliament. And that's what it's all about now at this juncture. What mood is he in?
He's in very confident mood. Good afternoon, Alistair. Look, it's been a hectic week, as you and Olivia have been describing. But what people stepping away from the Westminster bubble, a lot of this noise doesn't really play out into what everyone's daily lives are about. But a lot of people, in fact, nobody in the country could have avoided the name Sue Gray when this was happening and there was the view of her independence being pushed as she was assessing what actually went on. And then to show that she has quite a deep political leaning and is joining the leader of the opposition as probably his left or right-hand person. Well, that independence, that credibility really does leave the room. And look, I've worked with senior civil with the civil service and Whitehall over the last 20 years, on and off. Civil servants are always challenged about independence, but I have to say we do have a fantastic civil service. It is seen as politically independent. It leaves the politics to the politicians, and that's why it has to remain neutral and serve whichever party it is in government. When you see something like this happen, it does upset all of those civil servants, because that questioning of their independence, which generally goes on all the time from all political parties, then gets put into sharp focus and undermines the credibility that they try so hard to retain. So Sue Gray has a lot to answer for, not just in terms of this report and the dark shadow and cloud that she'll bring over the whatever comes out in this report, and therefore Boris and everyone else is quite right to question it, but also across all civil service.
He certainly didn't like the Windsor framework, which many people welcomed, and I'm sure it would have really hurt him to hear Rishi Sunak say, "I am the Prime Minister who will get Brexit done."
No, look, I spoke to Boris a couple of weeks back, and he's in good mood. He wants to see progress on this. This is what his legacy will be. He was the one who unlocked, if people can remember, look, it's been 7 years since the referendum. We've had 5 prime ministers, if you include Cameron, during that time. And Theresa May was absolutely jammed up with not being able to progress this. He unlocked this. He did get this done. He will go down as the Prime Minister that got Brexit done. Now it's about making sure it sticks. And obviously, Rishi has a big job to do there. The Windsor framework, I think Boris will be wanting to keep the deal honest, Brexit honest. It is about sovereignty. And yes, Rishi has achieved quite a significant political achievement here. But as David Frost said, who was our main Brexit negotiator, it still leaves a significant amount of lack of sovereignty over part of the United Kingdom and Ireland, and Northern Ireland. So we have to question it. We have to ensure that what people wanted is still delivered in the long term. But I do welcome, and I think Boris will welcome, that if there is greater cooperation being the critical word here, Alistair, around things like energy security, data sovereignty, how we're looking at illegal immigration, that is welcome. But we want cooperation. We don't want to affect our sovereignty and regulation.
Do you sense that Rishi Sunak is sailing into slightly calmer waters as we speak?
I think Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister needed this. Rishi is a technocrat, that is undeniable, and he's demonstrated his political craft by working on this deal. So bravo to him on that. But he's not a populist. Boris is the ultimate populist politician, and Rishi does need to develop some populism because, as we can see by the polls, the Conservative Party is struggling with the country, and he needs to develop that touch with the population. He will do that by achieving progress politically. If this is great, if this is progress, and it is progress for him, then it looks good on him as Prime Minister, it looks good on the government. I think the question really comes down to is, how does this deal, but also how does the country develop from the economic perspective? He has challenges. He's committed to his mandates of looking to cut inflation by half by the end of this year, looking at growth through the economy, looking at delivering the improvements in the NHS and the illegal boats that he needs to solve the very concerning matter about. These are the things that he will need to deliver on. And I think what will keep people occupied over the coming weeks and months before we do head into a potential election, which does need to happen at least by the beginning of 2025. But, nobody can look that far into the future, Alistair, but it does look like late 2024.
Kulveer, always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for sharing so much of your time with us this Saturday here on GB News. Keep in touch. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. That's Kulveer Ranger there, the former Director of Transport Policy for Boris